October 2nd, 2025, NASA's Perseverance rover captured something no one can explain, a blur above the Martian sky where light itself bent the wrong way. Within days, every spacecraft around Mars went silent, and for 11 seconds, the planet spoke back. Something very strange just happened on Mars. A new image of 3I Atlas, the mysterious interstellar visitor, has stunned scientists worldwide, not because of what it shows, but because of what light itself did around it. Just days ago, NASA's Perseverance rover captured a faint blur in the Martian sky using its Mastcam-Z camera. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary speck, a comet crossing in the distance. But then researchers noticed something impossible. The sunlight reflecting off 3I Atlas wasn't scattering like normal dust or ice. It was bending, twisting, and reorganizing as if obeying a different set of physical laws. Before we dive deeper into this cosmic mystery, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It helps us grow and reach more curious minds fascinated by space and its endless secrets. This is the first ever close image of an interstellar object taken from another planet's surface, a smudge no brighter than magnitude 8. Yet every instrument pointed toward it reported anomalies. Scientists expected a ghostly tail, maybe a diffuse halo. Instead, 3I Atlas appeared as a compact, elongated glow, eerily similar to Oumuamua, not the rounded comets we're used to. And as the images rolled in, something else caught attention. Mars itself began to stir. Dust devils whipped across the horizon. A massive storm rose near Jezero crater, exactly as the comet swept past at 28 million kilometers. At first, NASA dismissed the frame as timing coincidence. But new analysis revealed that sunlight around 3I Atlas showed polarization levels never recorded before, waves of light aligning instead of scattering. The effect, known as negative polarization, was so extreme that it defied every known comet model. The numbers were staggering: a 2.77% polarization at 6.4 degrees, stronger than any object ever observed. It meant the dust surrounding 3I Atlas wasn't ordinary. It was rougher, sharper, maybe metallic, or composed of exotic ices we've never seen. Even stranger, the comet had no visible tail. Only a faint filament began to form as it left Mars's orbit. Thin, narrow, almost surgical in precision. When solar wind from a coronal mass ejection swept through days later, the comet simply vanished from view. No debris, no fragmentation. It absorbed the flare, then disappeared behind the sun's glare. And while Earth moved opposite to its trajectory, astronomers began noticing the light curve didn't fade naturally. It switched off. Weeks later, polarimetric sensors caught something else. The chemical signature around 3I Atlas matched the thin atmosphere of Mars itself. Iron oxides, silicates, and trace CO2. That shouldn't happen unless the object had once interacted with a planet just like it. Could it have originated from a Mars-type world, torn from its system billions of years ago? And then came the biggest shock of all. Despite shedding gas clouds and heating under the sun, its path never shifted. Normally, outgassing nudges a comet off course, like tiny rocket thrusters pushing it sideways. But 3I Atlas moved with surgical stability, as if bound by internal control. Based on mass estimates from Webb and Hubble data, it weighs over 33 billion tons, a density unmatched in nature. Harvard's Dr. Avi Loeb divided its mysteries into two lists, one that could be explained someday, and another that may never be. Among the unsolved, its perfect alignment with the ecliptic plane, its timing to pass Mars, Venus, and Jupiter within a single month, and its arrival vector within 9 degrees of the legendary WOW signal. Too many coincidences for comfort, because when light itself stops behaving like light and a 33 billion ton visitor drifts through our solar system without a single natural explanation, scientists stop calling it a comet. They start calling it a message. Hours after the Perseverance image leaked, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter attempted to scan the same region where 3I Atlas had passed. The data never arrived. At first, NASA blamed a telemetry synchronization issue, but deep inside the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, engineers were seeing something far stranger. The orbiter had returned data, but the packets weren't readable. They were scrambled, as if encrypted by an unknown system. And yet the signal strength remained perfect. That couldn't happen naturally. While technicians scrambled to restore connection, two ESA orbiters, Mars Express and the Trace Gas Orbiter, both reported mirror failures within seconds of each other. Cameras automatically entered safe mode. The official explanation said solar interference, but mission logs revealed no solar flare or charged particle event at the time. Whatever had passed near Mars wasn't just reflecting sunlight, it was interacting with instruments. Meanwhile, amateur astronomers analyzing Mars's ionosphere readings from open NASA archives noticed an 11-second rhythmic spike, the same period recorded in Perseverance's magnetometer data. The pattern was unmistakable, an energy pulse repeating precisely, not decaying like random background noise. Then came the silence. On October 4th, NASA's Deep Space Network reported temporary downlink suspension for all Mars missions. For nearly 4 hours, not a single byte of live telemetry reached Earth. During that blackout, every ground antenna listening to Mars recorded one identical thing: a high-frequency carrier wave with faint modulation, like a coded message transmitted across millions of miles. When communication resumed, logs showed that all spacecraft had rebooted simultaneously, as though triggered by an external command. The next morning, an internal memo leaked from the European Space Operations Center. It mentioned unexpected structured noise and coordinated telemetry disruption consistent with directed RF exposure. In simple terms, something had targeted those spacecraft. At Harvard, Dr. Avi Loeb called the event unprecedented. If 3i Atlas interacted with our hardware, it's demonstrating awareness of observation. That alone changes everything. For decades, astronomers dreamed of detecting alien signals from distant stars. None expected the response to come from within our own planetary backyard. When data access returned, Mars Express finally sent one fragmented image before transmission cut again. It showed a dim halo trailing Mars's orbit, a crescent of light stretching 6,000 kilometers long, shaped like an arc bending back toward the sun. Analysts called it residual ionization. Others whispered it was a wake, the trace of a drive system activating. For the first time, scientists considered a thought they weren't ready to speak aloud. What if 3i Atlas wasn't simply passing through the solar system? What if it was slowing down? That question spread quietly through encrypted astrophysics networks. Because if a 33 billion-ton object could decelerate against the pull of the sun, then somewhere within that ancient interstellar rock, something was alive, or at least awake. And that's when the light began to behave even stranger. By October 7th, Mars should have returned to normal, the dust storms fading, telemetry restored, and Perseverance back to routine sampling. But instead, the red planet began to glow. It started faintly, a pale, diffused shimmer captured by the rover's night filters, hovering high above the horizon. Engineers at JPL thought it was a lens flare, until identical readings arrived from the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, orbiting hundreds of kilometers overhead. The glow pulsed every 11 seconds, perfectly matching the energy bursts still emanating from 3i Atlas. But the comet was already far beyond Mars, racing toward the inner solar system. So how could its signature still echo here? Spectral readings showed something unexplainable. The Martian sky was fluorescing in polarized ultraviolet light, the same wavelength pattern reflected from 3i Atlas during its close approach. It wasn't sunlight, it was feedback. NASA scientists immediately sealed data channels. Public feeds from Perseverance were quietly replaced with older footage labeled Archive Sol 934. Only internal teams could access the live stream. But by then, fragments had already leaked, and independent astronomers around the world confirmed a disturbing trend. The region of sky behind Mars where 3i Atlas passed now bent starlight. At first, experts assumed atmospheric distortion, but when identical curvature appeared in readings from orbit and even Earth-based telescopes in Chile and Hawaii, the conclusion was undeniable. Space itself was being distorted. Something invisible, possibly massive, was lingering behind Mars, reshaping the path of light as it passed. Harvard's Loeb described it best during a private briefing. It's as if 3i Atlas left a scar in space-time, a field still resonating with energy. ESA's sensors detected radio reflection anomalies in that same zone, radio waves entering but never returning. It was as if the signal was being swallowed by something transparent. NASA classified the data immediately, but leaked European telemetry logs revealed 3 coded words under status column: field still active. Every scientific model said that once 3i Atlas passed, its influence should vanish. Instead, the disturbance was growing, stretching into a faint hexagonal shape nearly the width of Mars itself. Analysts comparing frames noticed the pattern matched a geometric alignment found in 3i Atlas's earlier Webb telescope images, 6 evenly spaced voids forming a perfect hexagon. What could form something like that? Not dust, not magnetism, not gravity alone. For the first time, whispers began circulating through the astrophysics community that this wasn't a residual effect, it was construction. Dr. Aileen Ramirez of the European Astrodynamics Group summarized the fear none dared to voice publicly. If the field holds shape against solar wind, then it's powered. And if it's powered, something built it. That single finding reached the Pentagon before NASA could confirm it. Within 24 hours, the United States Space Command quietly redirected 3 deep space monitoring satellites toward Mars, then blacked out their orbital telemetry from all public databases. Astronomers noticed immediately. The Mars sector on live tracking maps went dark. No satellites, no signals, just silence. And yet, amateur radio telescopes in Australia picked up something faint within that silence. A slow, rhythmic pulse repeating every 33 minutes, cycling across a narrow frequency band. It was artificial, precise, and eerily similar to the old Voyager Burst 9 signal once dismissed as cosmic noise. For the scientists who understood what that meant, the implications were terrifying, because the last time a signal like that was heard, it came from the same direction 3i Atlas had entered the solar system from, the Sagittarius arm, near the galactic core. If that pattern was now resonating behind Mars, then the comet hadn't just passed through our system. It had activated something inside it. By October 10th, NASA claimed Mars telemetry was stable again. But something was wrong. Every new image looked dimmer, muted, as if sunlight itself had faded. Independent analysis confirmed it. Mars' surface reflectivity had dropped 3.8% in 48 hours. Something above the planet was absorbing its light. Then, at 23:04 UTC on October 11th, every magnetometer, from Mars Express to the defunct InSight array, spiked simultaneously. For 11 seconds, Mars's magnetic field doubled in strength. A low-frequency hum rolled through Jezero crater, captured clearly by Perseverance's microphone. Moments later, Perseverance recorded a faint blue arc along the Martian horizon. Too high for dust, too stable for aurora. Its wavelength matched the ultraviolet emissions of 3i Atlas. NASA never released the frame. During a sudden archival maintenance blackout, the rover quietly transmitted 9 gigabytes of spectral data back to Earth, right before contact was cut. When the feed resumed, its communication frequency had shifted upward, as if something else had begun using the old channel. Then 3 new transmissions appeared from the Mars sector, outbound, not to Earth, but into deep space. Each carried the same 137 harmonic signature seen in 3i Atlas's earlier pulses. Inside mission control, screens flickered white. No power surge, no radiation, just light. When systems rebooted, one new object appeared, a stationary reflective mass orbiting 5,200 kilometers above Mars' equator. NASA called it a sensor glitch, but a leaked ESA memo described it bluntly: unclassified fixed orbital mass, spectral match to 3i Atlas. By dawn, 3i Atlas vanished from tracking data, yet something identical remained, locked above Mars, glimmering faintly. At 0318 UTC on October 12th, the James Webb Telescope, redirected to Mars, captured a final frame before its sensors overloaded. A ring of light expanding from the stationary point, enveloping the planet in seconds. Every receiver across the solar system recorded the same structured pulse. It wasn't noise, it was communication. In an emergency briefing, Dr. Avi Loeb's final note read, "We are witnessing synchronization between a planetary magnetic field and a non-solar object. This isn't an observation anymore. It's interaction." From that moment, the question changed. It wasn't what 3i Atlas was. It was what Mars had become part of. By October 13th, the silence couldn't be ignored. Every Mars mission feed, Perseverance, Maven, Mars Express, went dark at once. NASA called it scheduled maintenance. But inside the Deep Space Network, 3 stations were still locked onto Mars, listening. At 0342 UTC, the static broke. A single narrowband tone flooded every Mars frequency. Within seconds, antennas worldwide picked up the same pulse, 3 notes spaced by the harmonic 1-3.7 pattern traced to 3i Atlas. Only this time it wasn't just sound, it carried data. For 2 minutes, Earth was speaking with Mars. Inside JPL, the signal decoded into geometry, rotating grids and hexagons pulsing in rhythm. Coordinates appeared on screen, pointing not at Mars but behind it where 3i Atlas had last been tracked. Then the consoles flashed white, no radiation, no spike, just pure light. When it cleared, one line blinked across the display, sync complete. Moments later, all Mars satellites vanished from orbital maps. Telescopes were ordered to stop observations. Most complied, except one. At Paranal Observatory, the VLT captured what NASA didn't want seen. Mars glowing faint blue along its edge. Not reflection, emission. The planet's magnetic field was now radiating ultraviolet light. Then Earth responded. Magnetometers from pole to pole trembled in sync with Mars's earlier pulse. Geostationary satellites drifted. The auroras turned violet-white, a color never recorded before. For the first time, 2 planets were resonating together. Leaked ESA files confirmed one final data package transmitted during the blackout, Atlas Synthesis.v1. Its checksum matched the Voyager Burst 9 from 1977, as if a message sent half a century ago had finally been answered. At Harvard, Dr. Avi Loeb addressed a small briefing. For decades, we listened for a response. Maybe it was never out there. Maybe it was waiting for us to be ready. He paused, then added, 3i Atlas didn't just visit our system, it connected it. By nightfall, the blue glow faded, but a faint low-frequency hum lingered beneath Earth's own magnetic field. Steady, rhythmic, and unending. Whatever 3i Atlas was, comet, construct, or something older, it left the solar system forever changed. Mars had spoken, and this time, the echo reached home. As you know, the signal from 3i Atlas, detected behind Mars, perfectly matched the harmonic pattern of the famous WOW signal from 1977. So here's a question that truly bends the mind. If this was indeed a response to a message we sent out decades ago, what does it mean that the comet didn't just reply with a signal, but instead physically traveled to our solar system and began changing the fundamental properties of Mars itself? And if you enjoyed exploring this cosmic mystery with me, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our next deep space story. Because trust me, the universe is full of secrets, and we're just getting started.